You think you make decisions based on logic, evidence, analysis, careful consideration. You think you look at a situation, weigh the options, and choose rationally. And the thing is, everyone thinks that, including the people making the worst decisions of their lives. Because here's what's actually happening. Your brain has been running shortcuts since the day you were born. Mental shortcuts designed to save energy and make fast decisions. And most of the time, they work fine. But sometimes in your career, your relationships, your finances, your goals, those shortcuts quietly lead you off a cliff. And you don't even notice because the whole thing feels completely reasonable from the inside. Today, we are covering three of the most common ones and the most costly. Odds are you'll recognize yourself in at least one of them. These aren't abstract psychology concepts, and they don't discriminate. They show up regardless of how educated you are or how self-aware you think you are. Research consistently shows that higher intelligence does not protect you from cognitive biases. In some cases, it makes you worse, because smarter people are better at constructing convincing justifications for the conclusions they've already emotionally reached. So, if you have ever thought, I'm too logical to fall for that, that thought itself might be the bias talking. Let's get into it. The first one is confirmation bias, and it's everywhere. Here's how it works. Your brain has a very strong preference for information that confirms what it already believes, and a very strong tendency to dismiss, ignore, or forget information that contradicts it. You don't do this consciously. That's the point. It happens automatically at the level of attention itself. You notice the evidence that fits, you scroll past the evidence that doesn't. Think about the last time you had a strong opinion about something, a person, a decision, a direction you wanted to take. Now honestly ask yourself, did you go looking for reasons you might be wrong? Or did you just keep looking for reasons you were right? Because that's confirmation bias in action. And it doesn't just affect small things. It's why people stay in the wrong job for years, cherry-picking the good old days as proof they should stay, while explaining away the bad ones. It's why smart people hold investments that are clearly failing, finding every article that supports recovery while ignoring the ones that don't. It's why genuinely good people never improve, because they're surrounded by the information that confirms they're already doing fine. The fix isn't complicated, but it is uncomfortable. Actively seek out the counter-argument, not to be convinced by it, but to stress test what you already believe. If your belief survives genuine scrutiny, it deserves your confidence. If it doesn't, you need it to know that. The second one is the sunk cost fallacy, and this one is responsible for more wasted years than almost anything else I can think of. The sunk cost fallacy is the tendency to continue investing in something. Time, money, energy, identity, simply because you've already invested in it. Not because it's still worth it, but because walking away feels like admitting that the past investment was wasted. You see it in the person who stays in a degree they hate because they've been in it for 2 years. In the person who keeps a business going long past the point of viability because of everything they've already put into it. Here's the logic your brain is using, and it sounds reasonable on the surface. I've put too much into this to quit now. But think about what that actually means. You're making a decision about the future based entirely on the past. But the question was never, how much have I already invested? The only question that matters is, if I were starting fresh today, would I choose this? If the answer is no, the sunk cost is not a reason to stay. The past investment is gone regardless of what you do next. The only thing you can control is what you do with the time that's still ahead of you. The third one might be the most important, especially if you're someone who values competence and takes pride in what you know. The Dunning-Kruger effect at its core is this: the less you know about something, the more confident you tend to feel about it. And the more you actually know, the more aware you become of how much you don't know. In the 1990s, psychologists Dave Dunning and Justin Kruger ran a series of studies that showed people who scored in the bottom quartile of tests of logic, grammar, and humor consistently overestimated their own performance. Not by a little, but by a huge margin. They didn't just lack the skill, they lacked the knowledge to recognize that they lacked the skill. But here's the part people skip when they talk about this. The same studies showed that highly competent people tended to underestimate their own performance. They assumed the things they found easy were easy for everyone. So there are two failure modes here: the beginner who thinks they've mastered it, and the expert who undersells what they actually know. Both are problems, and both cost you. So, what do you do with this? You get honest about the difference between knowing something and being familiar with it. Familiarity feels like knowledge. You've read about it, heard about it, maybe talked about it a few times. It feels solid. But the moment someone pushes back, really pushes back, you realize there's not much underneath. Real knowledge holds up under pressure. You can explain it simply. You can apply it when the situation is messy and the stakes are real. You can defend it when someone disagrees, not because you're stubborn, but because you actually understand why you believe it. The honest question to ask yourself is not, do I know this? It's, have I ever had this tested? Because untested confidence and genuine competence feel identical from the inside. The only way to tell the difference is to put yourself somewhere that demands the real thing. Confidence built on depth is an asset. Confidence built on familiarity is a liability. And it usually gets exposed at the worst possible moment. Here's what I want to leave you with, and I'll keep it simple. Knowing about these biases won't stop them from showing up. They'll still be there. The confirmation bias, the sunk cost pull, the overconfidence. Your brain doesn't uninstall them just because you've named them. What changes is the gap between the thought and the decision. Right now, that gap might be zero. Impulse and action happen almost simultaneously. What you're building is a little space in between, enough to ask, am I actually thinking clearly here? Or is my brain just protecting a story it already likes? That question, asked consistently, is worth more than any framework I could give you. Your brain is not broken. It's just optimized for speed, not accuracy. And now that you know that, you can work with it instead of being quietly run by it.